Welcome to Alita Hernandez Spanglish Entertainment News. Today, I have some incredible movie that's going to be in the works from this book called One Second After by William Forstchen. And it's a really interesting book, something to think about. It really makes us think about it. Okay, there's been things on the social media and before about talking about electromagnetic fields, and this is about electromagnetic pulses. And most of you probably won't even know what this is, right? So we're going to learn about this today. I know about electromagnetic fields because I have my shungite stone on my heart here to protect me at least a little bit from the fields that we get from the computers and stuff like that. And I also have a big pyramid of a shungite stone that helps a little bit to take away from the field that's around all the electronics, especially all the Wi-Fi. You have no idea how much you're around so much electromagnetic fields, like all the time. You have the electrical poles outside. You have the computer itself, the things that are running on the computer. The Wi-Fi connection is very heavy on that. I mean, there's so much stuff, that you don't even realize how it affects you physically. But that's another show. But today we're going to bring in Mr. Forstchen. He is a best-selling New York Times best-selling author, and he has several books. But he had one book called One Second After, which really talks about if we get hit in this planet with an electromagnetic pulse, it could knock down our communication, our electricity grid, and what's going to happen? What's going to happen if we have no electricity, right? Yeah, I mean, how many times your service goes down on your phone and you're panicked because you don't have internet for 2 hours? What are you going to do if it's 24 hours or weeks and weeks and months or whatever? So this is going to be interesting to see what he has to say. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest. Yes, you get the applause.
Boy, that's a greeting. Never had one. I love your glasses, by the way.
You're a little low. I can't. Let me raise my volume here. I think that's what it is. Let me see here. Okay.
How are we now?
Yeah. Okay. We're good.
Okay, I
So
just
how
said
are you today?
I love your glasses.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And you said you have 5 dogs in the room right now?
I have five. Yeah, I have five little ones. I have the mama who's a mini pincher, the father
Hmm.
who's a Maltese, and her two puppies.
Hmm.
And I also have an older Lhasa Apso. So they're
Oh,
all little.
great. Yeah, one of my golden doodles is at my feet right now. She
Yeah.
might jump up and crash the meeting.
Oh, it's okay. Mine crash too sometimes.
Yeah.
So yes, so this 1 second after. Let's talk about how did you think of doing this book, first of all?
Wow. Well, we have to go back quite a few years. So when I was a grad student at Purdue in the 1990s,
Hmm.
we were hit with a 1 in 1,000 year ice storm that blew down the entire grid for northern Indiana for about a month. And I watched people getting kind of squirrely doing that. So that put the idea in the back of my mind. I finished school. I've become a professor at Montreat, but I've always been this deep interest in the issue of electromagnetic pulse. And finally, in '05, I started working on my first book, and it got published in '09, and it became a bestseller. Electromagnetic pulse is a frightening thing that not very many people are aware of.
Yeah, that's correct. Correct. That's what I was mentioning earlier that I have a show, a wellness show, and I talk about electromagnetic fields, right? From our
Hmm.
phones, from our cell phones that we're holding all the time, from all these things around us. And a lot of people don't even understand that.
Well, someday when you're out for a drive and you're going underneath some high tension lines, pull over for a second, step out. You can actually hear them humming.
Yeah.
They're putting out a very large electromagnetic field, and that's when they're pumping electricity at max. I don't like standing there for too long. Long exposure can create some very bad things, including cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a section actually down in Boca Raton, Florida, that, or no, Boynton Beach, around Boynton Beach, Florida, that I would drive, and every time I passed it, it had, you can see the electrical like coils or something,
Hmm.
like a little like electric thing there. And every time I passed it, I would get nauseous. Like I would get
Yes.
like weird feeling. I'm like, what
Yeah.
happened?
Yep.
And yeah, so that's coming from all the electric pulses that's coming from there, correct?
Yeah.
Wow.
The worst case scenario is an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, which is a weapon. It's essentially taking a small nuclear weapon, lofting it out into space. When the weapon blows, it sets up an electrostatic field called a Compton effect
Mm.
that cascades down to the Earth's surface, feeds into our electrical wiring, and blows out those high tension lines and also many of the power plants. It takes our grid offline. According to a DOE study, such an attack, 5 years afterwards, 80% of our electrical grid would still be offline. The casualties would be catastrophic. These are the type of threats we face in today's world.
Wow. No, because everything's electric now. The
Yeah.
you can't get money out, it's electric. everything
Every,
that everything that could, all the computers that run. I used to work in banking for a while. So banking, everything's electric, everything's computerized, everything's dependent on the internet or another computer, So
when you got up this morning, where did the water in the bathroom come from?
some pump somewhere, right? Pumping with
Right.
electricity.
Yeah, I call it expectation and normalcy. I turned on the faucet this morning. It's going to work. I'll turn it on tomorrow. Hopefully, it's going to work. A major EMP strike or a major solar storm would blow the grid off. Your water no longer works. Your hospitals are closed. Your schools are closed. Everything is closed because electricity is the basic building block of our society. We've had it for 120 years now, but if that goes offline, we're in very deep doo-doo.
Yeah. I mean, when 2020 came, right, and we were locked down, that was hard enough. And we had
Mhm.
electricity and we had power and we had food, so we were still, so we were fine, in a sense. So if it was like that with nothing, yeah, it would have been, I think it would have been mayhem.
Well, I live in North Asheville, North Carolina, just outside of the town there. Helene, where are you located
I'm
for
in Florida. I'm Central Florida.
whereabouts?
Palm Bay,
Okay, you
near
weren't hit
Melbourne.
you weren't hit too hard by Helene. We were catastrophically hit.
Yeah.
We were without electricity for 6 weeks at my house.
Ooh.
You really learn just how tough it is to get by when you no longer even just have electricity, along with all the other amenities of life.
Yeah, it's true. One thing that I've experienced that it in quite a few times in the island of Puerto Rico, because
Oh,
my grandmother lived there, and I used to spend the summers every year there. So it was not unusual for no reason back, and this is, I'm talking about 40 years ago, say, right?
mhm.
That I was there and the power would go out and the water would go out all of a
Well,
sudden, and it would be no storm. I'd be like, what happened? Like, what? So my uncle at that time, he was smart. He built his house and he had a water reserve on, like, tank, big
yeah,
tank outside. So when the
smart.
water went, we still had water, and he had solar power back then.
Wow.
Okay, that we had always hot water, and we had electricity.
Well, Puerto Rico got nailed, what, about 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, it's
The
almost
grid was
7,
down
I
for a
think.
month.
Yeah.
And didn't it just get nailed again about a month or two ago?
It's
How
still
bad was
flooding.
that one?
No, it's still flooding right now. The rainstorms are flooding the towns. Nobody's talking about it. But right now, as of like last week, the streets were flooded like 7, 8 feet.
Well, seeing what's going on in Puerto Rico from about 5 or 6 years ago now, it's criminal. How come Puerto Rico cannot build a resilient grid that can survive? Because you're going to get hit by these major storms every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Why are they not taking care of it?
Well, that's a
That,
whole, that's a whole rabbit hole to go into. But I know that there's just a lot of corruption, unfortunately. There's
oh,
corruption.
really?
They paid so much money for the electricity, and what they did was they put the outside new, but not the unit that
Hmm.
controls all of it new. They left the old one.
Hmm.
Okay. Oh, we won't pay that because we want to put 4 million in our pocket. So they didn't change the infrastructure of the electricity.
Exactly.
So of course it's going down. It goes down all the time. We have family there, and they're always, oh, the lights out again,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know. And it's sad. It's ridiculous. It's been happening for almost my whole life. So when are you gonna fix it?
Yeah, when are you going to fix it and fix it right? And the cost of fixing it correctly, as compared to losing most of it every 3, 4, 5 years, doing it right the first time. My old man, when he had to repair something, he said, "You do it right the first time, or don't bother at all because it's going to break
Yeah,
again."
that's what my grandfather said too.
Yep, do it right the first time, darn it.
Yep. He said what was it? The something about the lazy man does double work or something, and that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
same thing, because it's true. If you don't, I learned that always do it the right the first time. Why do you want to do it again?
So, it's not only from electromagnetic pulse because of a military situation with North Korea or Iran, but there's the solar aspect as well. A large solar storm could take our grid down. The last big one was 150 years ago, called the Carrington event. But just last week, there was a major solar storm that, if it had been one notch up in terms of intensity, it would have blown out a part of the grid across most of the world.
So explain that to me. What's a solar storm?
Okay, it's called a coronal mass ejection. It's happening all the time on the sun. It's large eruptions, magnetic storms on the surface of the sun. But a very large one, if it breaks off from the sun's surface and it's
Oh,
pointed at the globe, we're done for. The thing of it is, they're happening all the time, but what's the probability of one aimed directly at us? Very, very low. But over a period of years, sooner or later, we're going to have one. The last big one was in '89 in Quebec, Canada, where a fair part of the Canadian power grid went offline for days.
oh,
Uh,
wow.
Same
I
thing
didn't
could
even know
happen
that.
here. What?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Look, look up. It's called the Carrington
The
event.
Carrington effect. Okay.
Carrington event, and that will really open your eyes as to the threat of solar storms.
Wow. See, we don't know. I don't think anybody, well, not everybody. There are some people out there that are prepared. Some people have gone off grid, trying to live off the land and things like that. That's what you see that on TV a lot. You see that a lot on like the tiny homes. They're trying to get people to
Yeah.
live off the grid, which is a good thing because you can survive, right? You can survive if you can do that. But it's not an easy thing to do. I remember being in Puerto Rico, and the water's out. You have to use the bathroom. We had buckets. My grandma would say, "Fill the bucket, throw it in the toilet. Fill
Fill
the
the bucket.
bucket."
Yep. Yep.
you know, or we really didn't try to use the candles because of the fire, so we tried not to use candles, but we had like lanterns and things like that. The kerosene lanterns, right?
Yeah.
The old-fashioned ones.
Of course. I got one in my closet here.
I was just thinking about it. They sell lamps now, right? Because
Mhm.
everybody wants to be cute. So now you get the lamp and you have to charge it with the charger.
Yeah.
Hello, hello. If I don't have electricity, what am I gonna do with this?
Well, using those small cylinders of propane, they
Hmm.
cost like 5 or 6
Yeah.
bucks, but they last for 10 to 20 hours.
Oh,
And that's a good way to at least provide lighting. That's how I was doing it when we were without power back in September and October last year.
wow. Yeah, we had some outage down south in Florida, down in Boca, about what was Hurricane Wilma, and then
Hmm.
Katrina. Katrina wasn't that bad. Wilma was actually did more damage. And everybody thought it was going to be nothing, and then some places were out for 3 weeks without power. And I remember I was home cooking with those those propane tanks. You're saying those little ones,
Yeah.
and then I put the sternos. The little sternos you
Oh,
put
yeah.
under. I put like 3 sternos, and I put a tray on top of it, and I started cooking steak and vegetables with heating it up. I said it pays to be. I was a Girl Scout when I was a little girl,
Good for you. Yeah, and I was a Boy Scout. So,
so we can survive. I can make a fire. I can find food. Especially down here. There's mangoes, there's pineapples, there's avocados, there's coconut water from all the trees and everything.
you live in a good place.
Yes. little bit of paradise.
Yes, yes.
But so let's talk about this. So there's like electromagnetic pulse. So this can come, like you said, from the sun. It could come from an attack, because I've heard that before.
Yeah.
That there's been stuff floating around X that talks about, that if we were attacked on, that would be the first thing they would do if we would get attacked.
The players I'm afraid of, I'm not necessarily concerned about China. China has as much to lose as we do if we ever went into a conflict. The player that scares me the most is North Korea. It's a rogue nation. It's run by a psychotic. The North Koreans have 10, 20, maybe even 30 nuclear warheads stockpiled. Why does a pipsqueak country like that need nuclear weapons? Well, putting an EMP attack by launching 3 rockets, intercontinental ballistic missiles, blow the weapon over the central United States, eastern United States, and western United States, it takes the entire grid offline. That's the one that scares me, because as I said earlier, the significant majority of our electrical power would be off 5 years later. We lose our water, we lose our food, we lose everything, and then things turn ugly very, very quick.
Wow. Now, is it true that we have some of our electricity comes from Canada?
Yes. Just geography being the way it is,
Right.
Southern Canada would be impacted as well. If United States was hit, Southern Canada would be impacted as well.
Right, because there's that border there. So
Yeah.
there, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I know they're trying to make I laugh. I mean, who knows what happens in our world. But they put a cartoon, with the flag of America going up Canada and then going back down, and like taking over the whole side of America, of this side of America.
Well, that's the politics.
I know. Look at your
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
He's so
No
cute.
comment. No comment.
I know, no comment. Your doggy looks so cute. He looks like he's ready to talk.
Oh yeah. This is Abby, one of my
Hi,
favorites.
Abby. Oh, look, she looked at me. Hi, Abby. How are you? That's so cute. She sees me.
Oh, she's a sweetheart.
That's
All dogs are. If a person doesn't like a dog, I don't like them.
exactly. So, how long did it take you to write the book, actually?
Well, I started the book. The story of the book is that I couldn't quite latch onto a plot. And I was actually at my college's graduation ceremony. So there I am in all my professor robes and all that. It's 90 degrees. I'm dying in the heat, waiting for the graduation speaker to shut up. And it suddenly hit me as I'm looking at my students and their families. Write the book about us. So the first draft of the book was 2 to 3 months, and then an awful lot of revision, but also a lot of research, interviewing dozens of people in different areas. For example, the pharmacist. Who knows the most about what's going on in the town? The pharmacist, because they fill all our medications. It's not the doctor. The police chief, the local doctor. A very scary interview for me was talking to a nursing home director. What happens in a nursing home if they totally lose power, even for a week or two? And the majority of the workers don't show up. It's a horrific scenario. So the book was then finally published in 2009, and it's been pretty well on the bestseller list since then.
That's very good. Yeah, I just ordered it, so I'll be getting it
soon.
Good. And so now how did it all go to make it into a movie?
Yeah. It just happened. For years, in the writing community, we call it option hell. They will option your book, which just simply means that they have exclusive right to it for a year and it would go nowhere. But finally, starting about 6 months ago, things started to move. In fact, the production crew for my book, the director, the producer, the agent, they're actually in Bulgaria these last 2 weeks, because a lot of movies get filmed now in Bulgaria and Romania rather than the United States. Wow. So I'll be going over in about 6 or 8 weeks, and it's supposed to come out on film next year, early next year.
Wow.
That's going
to be a good movie. That's going to be.
I hope so. I definitely
they're
don't
gonna
want
make it good. They'll make
I
it
don't
good.
want
All the dramatic and what who's gonna be your actor? Any secret yet? Any big actor?
no one I can name yet.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
approaching a lot of different people.
Ah, see, it's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting. I'm trying to think who I gotta think about it. I interview actors as well, so
Yeah.
um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I do actors, artists, musicians. Yeah.
Oh.
So, and then I do books and movies. So,
Hmm.
a lot of things that come through my desk that are interesting, and I like this stuff. You know, I'm kind of nerdy, so like I have a book on robotics and the future of AI and robotics and stuff like that I'm reading. You know, so I'm
Hmm.
interested in all different things and things that people need to learn, like this stuff. You know, we talk about. I have a good friend that sells the shungite. You've heard of the shungite stone, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I have it here on my necklace. I have shungite. I have a bracelet. I have bracelets and necklaces and the pyramid. And I put it around where I work because I'm in front of the two monitors right now and I have all this equipment around me. So
Yes.
just to absorb some of the electric magnetic field that is bouncing off things here.
Hmm.
Um, and interesting enough, the monitors don't have that. You don't detect. I have a detector, and the monitors are good. But my little speaker has more than the monitor.
Really, I never would have thought that.
Yeah, and we had a Bluetooth,
Yeah.
speaker. It emits a lot.
I never would have thought that.
Yeah, because we were
Well, I'm
using it.
learning something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
my husband tested. He goes, Ali, and he told me he says the Bluetooth speaker is sending out a lot of EMF. I go, what? I guess because of the Bluetooth technology or something in there.
Hmm.
So
You got me on that one.
yeah. So yeah, so I have a friend of mine sells the jewelry, just a little added protection. I mean, you know, it's kind of hard because everything around outside there's electric magnetic everywhere.
Well, because that's been part of our civilization for over 100 years. You know, a close friend of mine who worked a lot on the issue of EMP used to say that if we were ever taken out, it sets our society back to 1870. It's one of the few
Mm,
things I disagreed with. And he actually agreed with me. I said, it's not that we will go back to 1870 because people in 1870 knew how to live in 1870, how to plow a field, how to raise chickens, how to do this, how to do that.
exactly.
We would be thrown back 1,000 years because we're all I mean, one way or another, almost all of us are technologically have our assistants. I remember seeing an article once that the number of servants, slaves, whatever you would need to even closely mimic what we have today with electricity would be 50 to 75 servants just to take care of you if you wanted to live sort of in the style of today. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh, suppose you want music, you're going to need an orchestra. You know, suppose you need water, somebody has to go down to the stream and get it. We're not used to the luxury we live in.
Yeah. I say I'm very grateful that I had the privilege to live to spend time in Puerto Rico back in the 70s, the 80s. We had no internet. You didn't have none of that. And then when the power and the water would go out, there was always a reserve. Or we would go to the lake with my uncle, or we would go we always had animals. We had chickens, we had pigs on the property, and we had every fruit you can think of, mangoes, guavas,
Wow.
everything. So I used to just walk through there and just pick things off the tree and just eat them. It was the best thing in the world. And especially because I grew up in New York City. So you can imagine, from the city
Oh,
to the country. I
I grew up
love
in
the
Newark.
country. Yeah.
I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Where in New York City were you?
I in the 70s I was in Jackson Heights, and then we went to
Okay.
Flushing, Queens.
Okay.
Yeah. But Jackson Heights was very different back in like 79, all right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Compared to
Yeah.
what it is now.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, growing up in the city, right? And then having for me, I was like, I love to go to Puerto Rico every summer because I was like,
Mm.
it was like another
Another
place,
world.
another world. I ran around, there's grass, we can go to the beach every day. I mean, it was just beautiful.
Hmm.
And but I got learned how to do things. Like I know how to cook. If we don't have electricity, I know how to cook outside. Can make a
Hmm.
fire. I can cook something. Um, how do you call it? We have to get water. Like nowadays, I don't even know. Like where would we get water? You know, over there
Hmm.
I would know. because you would know where the reservoir was. But here, we're so dependent on everybody. Like I don't even know where the water source is.
Exactly. We don't see, there's the thing, that we don't know the supply chain that supports us. I mean, I guess when I was a kid, I used to think meat came and grew in a little pink package. You know, you open it up and pull the meat out and cook it. Challenge somebody to actually slaughter an animal, dress it correctly, and then cook it and then preserve the rest. Not one person in 100 would know what they're doing.
No, most won't. I actually story. So my ex-husband his family was from Spain. So his mother, who grew up in South America afterwards, she was very in the country, right? So she would slaughter her own animals and do all that stuff. So she tells me she had come to Florida. No, we were in California at the time. She came to California and she said, "Where can I buy a live chicken?" I go, "What? Yeah. A live chicken?" I go, "Chinatown." So Chinatown in LA is one of the largest Chinatowns. So when you go to Chinatown, they have live chickens in cages. You pick your chicken and they slaughter it right there and you take it home. So
and how many people know how to do that now?
No. I mean, it's weird when you go into the city to do that. It just doesn't seem right. You know, like when you're in the country, they're free range. You know, it's a kind of a little different thing. I couldn't slaughter. I guess if I have to, you have to, right? But it would break my heart to do that. You know.
Yeah, same here.
I'd rather eat spinach then. I'll just be a vegan.
You know, many years ago, I went hunting once. I shot a deer. It was only 10 feet away when it finally died. I looked at it, put the gun aside. I haven't pointed a gun at an animal since.
They just could, yeah.
There's just some things I just cannot do, and that's one of them.
Yeah. When you're not, oh, that's the other little doggy. Which one's that?
Yeah, that's Chloe. She's the troublemaker.
Oh, look at Chloe.
Yeah.
So cute.
Okay.
She's the princess.
Well, she's the princess, definitely.
So people really have to get prepared for this. And I mean, they show on TV, there's all these commercials about these solar powered generators and things like that. But if something happened like that, like if a pulse hit us, would it affect the weather too?
Yes.
I mean,
it wouldn't affect the weather, but the reliability of solar panels might be compromised. I get asked that question a lot. I refer people who are actually in the business. Yeah, the people in the business installing will tell you, "Oh yeah, it's going to work." But some other people I've talked to say problematic at best. The EMP would hit the panel and short out some of the microcircuitry. So the panel sits there, but the microcircuitry is gone.
Oh, okay. So that's the thing. Everything has underlying electricity somehow. Even the Tesla stuff.
Yes.
The charging. What is electricity?
Well, if you have a Tesla, good luck.
Exactly. Because there's all batteries underneath your car or something like that. So guess what? You're done. Yes. I had a friend of mine we were supposed to meet last weekend, and I'm like, "Where are you?" "Oh, we had to stop to charge the car." It takes an hour and a half. What? No. Give me my old 65 Mustang again,
Yes.
Boom, and we're off. I was reading that they say that the only cars that would work, have to be 1970 or older.
Older, yes.
Older than that, because they're mechanical cars and not electrical cars.
The line there is mid-60s onward, cars started putting computerized components in. Today, your cars, even gas-powered or electric, it's basically a large computer, and their survivability would be low. But I hear some experts say 10 to 20% of the cars would be taken offline in the EMP, to which my response is, go to your local interstate highway, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, turn off 10% of the cars. What happens to the other 90%?
Sorry, I need to drink something.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's a problem too, because now we have an issue. Now you can't even go anywhere to get water or to get food or even to find something because you have no car.
Right. Exactly.
You got your two legs, and if you have a bicycle, maybe, but then try to carry stuff with a bicycle. Even though, see, nowadays, see, the problem is that we've become soft, like the generation now, they won't survive. They won't know what to do. Can I call Amazon? Or can I, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
do they deliver?
Yes.
No, you need to use your own body and go do some work. Oh, what?
But, I teach college. Just to get my kids to turn their phones off for 60 minutes for a class can be a chore.
Oh, they must be having withdrawals. It's
No,
really
they do.
it's really bad. People don't understand that we've become guinea pigs. I mean, I started in computers since they started in 82,
Mhm.
and I've seen the development of it, and I've seen the dependency that you get. Because I even too, I can't go anywhere without my phone. I'm like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Because
What was your first computer?
huh?
What was your first computer?
My first one was an IBM PC. Well, no, actually, no. It was a tandem,
Tandy.
and Tandy, and then there was the main. I worked on the mainframe computers too. At that time, I forgot what they were. They were all IBM mainframes back then.
350.
And yeah, the IBM, yeah. Because I worked at CBS Channel 2 in New York.
Oh,
Yeah, I worked there for about a year and a half. And
okay.
my mother was there for about 20 years. She worked for one of
Really?
the presidents. Yeah, so we worked there at BlackRock. And they so I remember I was the one I installed the first IBM PCs at CBS in 1983 or 84.
Wow.
Yeah, I even taught a class. My mother even kept my book. I don't know where it is. I wrote my first manual. It says Introduction to PCs. It's a personal computers. It says, and I created my first manual at like 20 years old or something. And I taught the
Wow.
class to the executives how to use a computer. And we were
Mhm.
playing on the IBM PC with the little, you make the little faces, like
Yeah.
you play Pong. Remember Pong?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Yes.
So, like I say, life was like simpler in a sense, there was more, I think there was more community back in the day when you had no phone and no computers. Because now people just lock themselves in the house, on the computer, on the internet, or even with people. Now you just do dating on the internet now. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. I'm in my 70s now. I'm glad I am what I am. And I'm glad that when I grew up in Newark, there was still a sense of community, a town. Couldn't get away with anything because the grandmothers would tell your father.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, the damn
Yeah.
grandmothers, they were always watching out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood, yeah, everybody knew each other. You couldn't get away with nothing.
Yeah.
You try to have a fight with another kid or disrespect somebody else's mother. By the time you
Whoa.
got home, they were waiting for you with the belt.
Yes, exactly.
But so yeah, so we are so the movie hasn't started. You're in the process of it, so not going to be filming till like the end of the year or something, right?
Right now they're telling me they're going to start filming around September 15th.
Mm. So that'll take a while, a couple of months or something to
Yeah.
film, and so maybe sometime next year or the year at or.
Release would be late spring, early summer of next year.
Oh, okay. Very good. And hopefully it'll be out in mainstream movie theaters or online.
That's what
Do you
they're
know?
saying.
Oh,
If not, the vast majority of movies are made for theatrical release, but if they don't score a good theatrical release, it's Netflix or Prime.
okay.
And in some ways, I almost prefer that because you reach 10 times as many people.
Yeah, that's true. Because people don't go to the movie theater as much as they
No.
used to. I used to love. I used to work for a movie theater company for a while, and in California, and I used to love going every Friday. Every other Friday we had off, and I would go to the movie theater in the afternoon just to see all the new releases.
Right. Yeah, those days are gone too.
Yeah, yep, and the drive-ins. The drive-in were fun too for a while.
Yeah, yes. Not going to end stories, but yes. Driving is great.
But so yeah, so right now with Netflix, Prime, and all the other ones, there's so many other ones online. You can see the movie right away. So I interviewed a director the other day for a movie that came out also online, on Apple TV and some other ones. That's
Hmm.
another one, Apple TV. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's good. You'll reach a lot of people that way, and I think people will be interested. They'll be like, "What is this 1 second after?" Like what's happening? And I always tell people when you watch a movie, there's a lot of real things in movies. People think that movies are just fairy tales, right? But
Hmm.
there's a lot of truth in what's there.
Hmm.
You have to, some movies you have to read in between the lines, but it's just making people aware, right? Just making people aware. But what can you do if that happens, really? What can you do?
Well, that's our vision place, and a good movie. For example, how many people have read To Kill a Mockingbird? How many
Mm,
people have seen the movie or seen it on TV? I
mm,
mean, tens and tens of millions of people. A good book is great, but if the movie is an accurately done movie, can have a profound impact on our culture.
yeah, yeah. Well, we hope everybody sees it who needs to see it, as they say.
I hope so.
You may have to release it in several languages. Maybe I probably can do that already, right? Release it in different
I bet
languages.
you could.
Yeah,
I actually asked about that, and they said that's a distinct possibility. If we see a certain percentage of audience, at the very least, we're going to subtitle it or maybe even dub it.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you can subtitle it. Yeah, you can subtitle Spanish, French, whatever. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be very good. Well, congratulations on having the,
Thank
the
you.
best-selling book and now hopefully having a number one movie coming out next year.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
So thank you for your time. It's been very interesting conversation. That is for sure. We can probably talk for hours.
It's been a joy. Let's do it again in a month or two. Just contact my people my publicist at any time. Really enjoyed chatting with you today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. Have an awesome day today.
And my dogs say goodbye as
I
well,
said,
and your
"Bye,
dog
puppies."
too.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. God bless. Bye
You
now.
too. Bye. There we go. So, people, what an interesting conversation. I know we went kind of tangent a couple of different places, but this is a person that is a professor at a university, a New York Times best-selling author on this 1 second after. Look it up, William Forstchen. He has the book again, 1 second after, and he also has another book called The Final Day. So look it up. You can get it on Amazon. I just got it on Audible too, so you can get it on Audible if you want, on Kindle also. So just go to Prime Book. It's right there. There you go, and check out the book, and then you're going to be really interested to see the movie. I think the movie's going to be really good. So, well, I wonder who the actor's going to be too. So we'll have to see. Anyway, guys, bye. See ya next time. And I'm not ready. Hey, okay, we'll do it again. That's okay. I'm going to cut it. I don't even know where it is now.